Welcome to the Cycles of Radiance podcast, a weekly conversation tailored for Gen X Black women and women of color who balance faith, family, friendship, career, and love. Through storytelling and laughter, we embrace the triumphs, challenges, and aspirations experienced by women of color. Your hosts, Joanna Kemper, Dana Middleton, and Stacey Givens, are faith-filled entrepreneurial women who are redefining success on our journey towards well-being. Find us on Instagram at Cycles of Radiance.
Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Cycles of Radiance. Today, I think we're going to touch on a topic that has hit all of us in one way or another, and probably harder for some than others. But we're going to touch on the topic of grief and crisis, because we've had some experiences the past couple of weeks that have put us in a state of grieving, or where we've been witness to crises or had to deal with crises. And of course, as usual, we're literally talking a little bit differently than we hit record. And so this was no exception. So Stacey was sharing a little bit about crises and how in these situations we're really relying on humanity to show up. And I don't know about you, but I'm always shocked and just happily surprised when humanity shows up with kindness, with compassion, with humility, with urgency, with sacrifice, with all the things. Because unfortunately, we're not seeing those behaviors manifest daily as much as we would like. But in those moments of crises, we do see it. The beautiful side of humanity, which is really the reflection of God's light. And how He shows up in all these moments. Because it's really the Holy Spirit moving people to just do the right thing during a crisis. And then when you go back to talk to people, you ask them, like, what prompted you to, jump into the lake and go and save that person? What prompted you to go to that person's CPR and come up like a stranger? I did that. I didn't even think about it. I just did. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's just the Holy Spirit moving people into action. And sometimes it really works out. Or sometimes, there's, somebody passed into the moment, they still remember all these efforts that were done during the crisis to really take care of other human beings, which at the end of the day is what God is asking us to do, which is to love each other, to look like God will create our lives for each other. And so I think in crisis situations, we see that unfold. And then also during death, during birth, there's like this avalanche of support and excitement, because the baby is born, everybody wants to like help out and whatnot. And then for death, you'll also see this outpouring of just support and love, and what can I do, and how can I help you, how can I take on your pain and lighten your pain, what can I do? And what I find that in the grieving process, it's I've always said that grieving is lonely. The grief process can be lonely because initially you get a lot of support, but then like 2, 3, 4 weeks later, everyone has to roll back into their day-to-day life, and the people closest to that loss are the ones that are left with this gaping hole, and they don't know what to do with it. And so I always advise people like, hey, in the beginning, yes, it's great to express your condolences, but do show up 3 to 4 weeks later and just check in on people because that's when it gets really dark and you just don't know how to function in this new reality. It has to be from lived experience. So, and in all these circumstances, where I always take comfort in the humanity, right? Like how people show up for others and during crises, death, these things. Just kind of what's on our minds today. It's a very topic, but I think it's important for us to discuss it because we can very easily just keep on going like we try to do with all the things. And that's no the answer.
True to form, this constant push to keep it moving. And there's some sense of feeling like, okay, everybody else is getting back to life, then I should too. That's the expectation. But, when you're processing death, life doesn't happen. The reality of what's going on doesn't happen until after services, after what's supposed to be the final goodbye. And the real goodbye hasn't even happened yet, but there is that assumption that, okay, then it's done and you move on. And like you said, for the people who are living day to day, who have that gap, it's not over for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I know I dealt with it when my father passed, and I was 2 years old, and then again when my mom passed, and now I was a mature adult, and the grief cycle is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then this past week losing a dear friend, and you're still trying to kind of gather up the pieces. I think going through those experiences humanizes you, humbles you, and helps you empathize with people in a way that you normally wouldn't have. Like once you've gone through that level of grief and pain, you just empathize with other people when they're going through something like that in a way that perhaps others wouldn't understand. It's like, no, I know your pain. I know what you're going through. I get where your head is right now. And I'm here to intercede for you. I'm here to pray with you on your behalf. I'm here to give you just a little bit of light, even though you don't want it. But I gotta give you just a little bit of light so you hang in there. I gotta feed you some bread. Like you gotta. It's very difficult to pick the pieces up because every little situation reminded you of that person that you lost, and you just can't move. You're kind of paralyzed, trying to figure it out, and everybody's moving forward, and you're like in this fog, like you just can't move.
That's the thing, right? Is that the world doesn't stop spinning while you or I process grief. Everything else is continuing. It is a cycle, and it is probably one of the hardest cycles that anyone ever has to endure, is dealing with the loss of those we love. I understand that pain that you're talking about, Jay, that sadness of losing a dear friend. It's very, very difficult, and the rest of the world just keeps right on moving. And you're trying to, it's almost like being in traffic and your car is stopped and the other traffic is just racing past you.
Yeah.
And you can't even get to the shoulder of the road. You're just stopped in the center and everybody around you is moving and they're looking in your car like, why aren't you moving? Move. Like, come on. The rest of us we got places to be. And it's incredibly difficult to try to just make it to the shoulder of the road, to a place of safety, um, to get what you need, to get the help that you need.
I mean,
And
sometimes you
You
don't
don't
get
even
to
know
that
what you
curve.
need at that point.
You don't even know what you need.
You don't. And it's at that
Mhm.
moment that you just kind of want to yell and go, hey, don't y'all know this just happened? Like, surely you understand what's going on right now. Stop.
Yes.
And like you got to feel the same way that I feel. And then
Yeah.
contrast, but almost similar to that, when you think about the way that people do show up, and it's that instinct that kicks in. That's the empathy. We talk about empathy a lot now, to the point, like we do so many other things, that is watered down. That's not something that you can force, but in those moments where you can feel, oh my God, my heart breaks for her. My heart breaks for him. I don't even understand how they're processing right now. What can I do? And that's empathy.
Yeah.
That's empathy. And despite all of the things that are going on, I'm still very thankful that people will show up. People will listen when God is saying, hey, move. This is where you need to be. This is what you need to do. That's our job. We couldn't process, we couldn't make it if everybody turned a blind eye or ignored God's directions and didn't honor that feeling of true, genuine empathy that's just pushing from the inside, you know?
Yeah,
And
I
to
think
your
that is
point of not knowing what to do, like we're in the midst of, we just had a memorial service for a family member a few weeks ago. And, when you're not present, physically present, it's even harder to try to, show the love and whatever, like you're talking about, and trying to be careful of not bombarding someone, but recognizing where they are, based on what they share, and hearing that, people, you all have just said it, that the world expects you to go on, regardless of your loss. Even your own family members will expect you to go on, and just keep going. And there's a lack of understanding because when it's not you, it's very hard to find that place, to your point of empathy. Like we want people to be okay so badly that we don't allow people to um to grieve in the way that is best for them. There is no formula. And just understanding and recognizing this individual has lost someone so close, I'm trying to be sensitive to my family members, and but I recognize the situation, and it's a loss, and the people around you are like, well, just keep on going. And I'm like, that's not realistic at all. There's too many emotions, and the sadness and the weight of that pain is just so great, and you can't give it to someone else. You know that it's your pain that you've got to carry, and you don't know how to carry it, and you don't feel strong enough to do so. And you need people around you who will just sit there. You don't have to say anything, just sit there. Your presence alone. One of my pastors used to say, there is ministry in your presence. He's like, you can come to a funeral or memorial service. You don't have to know the person. It's just you being there. And I think that's true for people who have experienced loss. Jay, for your friend, for my family member. It's just the physical presence. Just be there. Just sit. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to say anything. You just sit there.
Yeah.
If I think in many ways we've lost that as well.
Well, because I think people, like with all emotions, people kind of, reflect back their own experiences. And the grieving is such a days of it journey, but it still requires community care to get through it. So that whole concept of just sitting there in presence is so valuable. just to handle the logistics, or because there's a lot of moving parts to handle with the loop pass. And sometimes you're equipped to handle it, and sometimes you're not. And sometimes you just need somebody to sit there with you to just help you through all those parts. And even after the fact, with all the cleaning up and the organizing. And so having someone just there is it's just so supportive. And it's such a godly support, in physical form. And we need it to get through all the different chapters of the grieving process, because there are a lot of chapters that they won't allow, and it's complicated. It comes in waves, but I find sometimes that people don't want to don't show up how it, but they love to just they don't know what to do, they don't know what to say, and it just feels awkward. And I'm like, just do it, just lean into the awkwardness, because that person needs you there. Okay, this is not about how you feel in this process. It's about how you can help the other person process such a difficult situation. So put yourself out of the equation and just show up for that person in whatever capacity you can and whatever they may need. I always tell people, like, full cast, let me know, or maybe I can do to help. I hate that statement. It's right in my ears. I'm like, if you're big man, the pieces that are involved, offer to take care of some of the pieces, okay? Like, I just listed out. I'm like, you need to probably clean that house. You need me to take you a meal. You need me to make some phone calls for you. You need me to run some errands for you. You need to go grocery shopping. You need to shuffle your kids somewhere so you have some time. You need to take them to the park for a few hours. Like, list out the things that you think that they're dealing with and offer to take it off their plate. Okay? Because in that moment, that person can't even think. Like Dana said earlier, on what they need. They don't even know what they need. They just know that they're still here and their long-lived isn't. And they cannot connect the two. And so you just need to show up with, like, hey, I'm gonna do this. And I promise you they will thank you. They may not even be able to say thank you in the moment, but they appreciate it. But most importantly, God appreciates you showing up, being his hands and feet for these people when they're going through the grieving process. That was always my advice to people. I'm like, just offer things that you can do to help them. If not, just sit there with them in silence. It's okay. Be awkward. It's fine.
That's it right there, though, Jay, is the being awkward. We are a society of people who do not like to be uncomfortable.
Oh, we know.
We run from discomfort. And the first thing we want to do is try to solve someone's discomfort. And you're not going to solve someone's grief ever. There's no words you're going to offer. There's nothing you're going to say that is going to solve it for somebody. It is their journey. It is their cycle. It is the process that they have to endure. The best that you can do, in my opinion, I mean, we've all experienced grief, right? And the best that anyone could ever have done for me was to just sit there with me. You don't have to say a word, just sit there. And I think that we, as humans, we're always trying to figure out how to avoid uncomfortable situations. We have a rock in our shoe. We will stop to get the rock out of our shoe. And because we know I'm gonna walk 2-3 miles with this rock in my shoe, right? You got an eyelash in your eye. You hold on, let me get this out of my eye, right? We will not endure discomfort, and death is probably, to me, the epitome of discomfort, because there's no
solution.
Yeah, right.
There's
There's no balm, there's no salve, there's no medicine, there's no nothing. And so I just feel like it's situations like what we've discussed that force us to sit in an uncomfortable place for as long as it takes.
You know what? I'm going to throw, and this won't probably will not surprise the two of you, that I agree 100% about that. I can't handle the discomfort, right? I can't handle this. This is what's going on with me. I can't even process it. But being the person that I am, it's almost like normality is very important. So for me, it's like you two could say, all right, this chick ain't saying something. I'm a check, right? And when she says I'm good, you guys are going to call bull. But I am going to say I'm good. That's just who I am. So I am the person where if you say, hey, can I take the kids somewhere? I'm going to say no. Because I need to keep moving in the way that I move. And I need to be where my kids are, right? Is that the most healthy thing in the world? Probably not. I probably should take the time and say, hold on a minute, let me get it together. But it's uncomfortable for me to have people like, no, my house is a mess. I can't have you cleaning that up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for me, it is kind of an opposite stance. It is kind of opposite. Now, that doesn't mean that I feel some kind of way about a question being asked. 100%. The fact that you think to ask if there's something and then be so specific, because you know kind of what my day-to-day looks like, or you understand what that looks like. That means the world to me.
Right.
But I am the person who will process in a way that's like, I've got to do what I normally do. I can't sit down.
Which is why I say keep showing up for people
Mm-hmm.
during the grieving process, because everybody grieves differently,
Mm-hmm.
right? And some people, they gotta keep on going. But eventually, you hit that
crash.
wall.
Yes.
You're not gonna be able to do it.
That's right.
And
That's
that's
right.
when you're gonna get my text message for like the 10th time, and you're gonna be like, well, maybe.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Just
right.
maybe
Exactly.
I need to say yes to this. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
Yeah.
keep showing up for people.
Fair. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Go
I
on the
know.
errands with them, right? The
Yeah,
whole
with them,
I
yeah.
have to do it myself. Okay, fine. I'll go with you as
Yeah.
you're running this
Mhm.
errand.
Yeah.
Several years ago, a friend of mine lost her mom, and she said, "Well, I need to go and find the dress that she will wear." I said, "No, I'll go with you." So I drove, and wherever she said she wanted to go was where we went. And we drove around, and we looked for a proper dress, and found that, and then we drove that to the caretaker person and all of those things, and then dropped her back at home. That's not something you should do by yourself. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be trying to drive anywhere, right? So
Yeah.
again, it's these little things, to your point, Jay, of ask and just show, hey, I'll drive. You don't even have to say, would you like me to drive? I'll drive. I'll be there. I'll be
Hey,
there at 3.
let's
I'll be there
go.
at 2. Whenever you're ready to go, I'll be there.
Mhm.
If you're out and about and you pass by the person's house and say, hey, I am driving past your house right now. I just wanted to drop this off for you.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of little things that we can do that will, I think, just show that we love people. It's not going to mitigate their emotions, but it certainly will let them know that they're loved and cared for.
Just really the goal. Just getting those and feet. I don't think it's a coincidence that we've been through these experiences on Holy Week.
Okay. Okay.
And that
Okay.
has added
Okay.
a different weight to all of this. And I'm a podcast junkie, and you know this. And I was listening to a podcast called Starting Place. The episode was God is Sovereign. And that was my friend's favorite line. She would always say, well, God is sovereign. And that episode was just so helpful during this time. But I don't think it's a coincidence. All this is happening during Holy Week. Here we are, it's Good Friday, and I think one of the messages in the podcast was we go through a lot of crises and grief here on earth because of the brokenness and sin, but we also have hopes that Jesus will all that on the cross for us.
Amen.
And that's the hope that we stand on. That regardless of what's happening here, we have hope that we will be with the glory, we will be with our loved ones in glory, and that we won't have to deal with all of this pain, discomfort, loss, and crisis anymore. So that's been my comfort during all of this. So I would say comfort in God, hope in God, and also leading into our community for hugs and just processing all the emotions, because we can't ignore the emotions. We just have to go through them. And we'll get to the others. So, any closing words? Otherwise, I'll wrap it up.
We should leave it right there, Jay. You said it all.
All right. Thank you for joining us. We got us hearing.
We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Our desire is to empower, support, and elevate you on this collective journey towards a fulfilled life. We invite you to connect and find community with us on Instagram as Cycles of Radiance.